There will be no mic today. I can't find it. So, but it's okay because you can hear the beautiful sounds of outdoors. Okay, welcome to what I read in April and a little bit of March, because I read one book in March, so I thought, why not add that into this stack. This is 5 books, 4 of which I read in April, 1 of which I read in March, and that's the one we're gonna start with. My hair's a little frizzy, but it's summer. It's basically summer. It's spring. It's basically summer. The first book is I Am the Messenger by Marcus Cusack. Marcus Cusack wrote one of my favorite books of all time, The Book Thief, and this did not disappoint. This, I think, was written before The Book Thief and is about a guy who just kind of like a regular dude with his own regular problems, and he's kind of forced into becoming this vigilante, and it was incredibly moving, and I was sucked into it, and it was heartwarming and beautiful and so raw. It was very easy to consume and very real. Like, the characters were very real and flawed and had flawed thoughts and actions, and it was just moving in a way that it's been a while since a book did that to me. Even though I only read 1 book in March, it was a good book. I gave this 4 stars. Not because, I just don't give 5 stars. It was a fantastic book, go read it. Started this last autumn, but I just didn't finish it because I was just in a reading rut. Anyway, you hear the birds? Okay. That is Lapvona by Tesha Moshfegh. She wrote My Universal Relaxation, a book I have not read, but I do own now, so I'm gonna read it. This is such an odd book. And in the beginning, I was like, this is intriguing, this is interesting, this is kind of fun, but not fun. I don't know how to explain it other than this. Nothing in this book is beautiful. It is disgusting, but it's good. I was gonna give this a 3 star, like 3 stars, but in like a negative, maybe like a 2.5. I was like in the middle. I was almost to the end. I was around about here. I'd read this much. I was like, I can't, like, I just need to finish this. Like, I'm not enjoying this. And then I get to the end. I've never read a book like this before in my life. It is incredibly disturbing. It's almost completely unrelatable, but also so relatable, but not really. Let me read you the last line. This won't really spoil anything for you. I'm not gonna tell you who said this, but I'm just gonna read it because this like turned it around for me. Like, this last line, I was like, okay, that was good. Like, I said it. Okay. Don't worry, death is not the end. You shall rise. What are the birds but angels? You will never have to walk among the monsters. It's much better up there. You'll see. You will be so happy and free, you'll sing. This book was incredibly disgusting. I mean, genuinely, nothing's beautiful in it. It's disturbing. It made me sick to my stomach at times because I'm like, what? But it's so human in the sick and twisted, dark, rotted way that humans are. If this is what medieval times were like, my 10-year-old self takes back everything she says about wanting to live in medieval times. Yeah. The relationship they had to God in this book was really unique, but not unique. Like, it was incredible. It was fascinating, very thought-provoking, and I was into it. La Bona by Tisha Moshe. I read One Writer's Beginnings by Eudora Welty. My English teacher, I brought this to class to read. Like, if we had any extra free time, I was carrying it around in my bag. My teacher caught it at a corner of her eye and she goes, Eudora Welty, I love Eudora Welty. I was like, yeah, well, I've never read any of her works, but this is her autobiography that my grandfather sent me, so I'm gonna read it. She was like, yeah, I had tea with her one time. What? Anyway, I think if I had read her works before I read this, I think I would have enjoyed it more. I had never read a single short story from her or novel or literally anything that she's ever written, and so quite honestly her life was boring, and I feel like I would have appreciated it more because this is kind of explaining how her life influences what she writes in a way, and I just think I would have enjoyed it more. Like, I just wanted to get through it. I just wanted to be done. So I went to Oxfam Books in Exeter, and I found a complete short stories collection of Eudora Welty, and so I'm going to read that slowly but surely. Yeah. One Writer's Beginnings by Eudora Welty. I'm going to reread this after I read some of her work, because I feel like I wasn't in this place to fully appreciate this. Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. I'm going to come in and quickly talk about this book because I did not cover it well enough in this video because I wasn't finished with it. Like, I finished it the next day, which was the last day of April. Or I finished it, it's been a month, but I finished it in April. This was for a class and we did a big presentation on it, but I still absolutely loved this book. It's not a fun, light read by any means. And it definitely leaves you thinking. Margaret Atwood said it best herself, a masterpiece of speculation. This was written in the 1930s, and Huxley's ability to predict what the future would be like is honestly terrifying and speaks volumes to the issues we have today in society. And I think everybody who is I think everyone who's an adult, all adults, maybe if you're 17 or 16, depends, there's some sensitive topics, should read this book because it really is just such a paramount novel that critiques the modern world. Also, if you are a Shakespeare fan like I am, this thing is full of it. If you look at the title and you know where that's from, I mean, it is steeped in Shakespeare, and I love that. Thank you, Aldous Huxley, for giving those lovely, lovely Easter eggs. I honestly recommend this to people. It's very well done, and even though it was written about 90 years ago, it's very digestible prose, and honestly, a good, I don't even know if you could consider this a classic, but it's a good book. Highly recommend. The end is heartbreaking, but at the same time fitting. This one has an introduction by Margaret Atwood. Are you kidding me? I'm gonna read this. Are you kidding me? I gotta read the introduction. Anyway, highly recommend. One of the best books I read this month. It's up there in the top 3, I would definitely say. So, or not this month, but the month of April. And my last book, but not least, let me tell you, not least in the slightest, this book, I was meant to read, I was like, I'm gonna read 7 books, 7 days, and then I read this book. I couldn't move on. I haven't read a book since, other than this, just for class. I've been in such a deep book hangover. I'm like constantly thinking about this book. It's just in my mind. It's burrowed in there and laid its eggs. It's My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell. This at times made me physically ill. I have a theme of books I like, I guess. It is about a girl. It switches between 2 points in her timeline. One is when she's actively getting groomed by a teacher at her school, and the other is later on when she realizes really the gravity of what was done to her. I think there could be a very negative way to broach this subject and to write about it and to write a novel about it. And I think Kate Elizabeth Russell does it brilliantly. You're so inside the mind of Vanessa that you really just kind of sympathize with her. And you can understand how she can interpret Strain's advances toward her and gestures towards her as love. But you can understand that, but you also see how it's not, how twisted Strain is of a person, and it just hit like a little personal note for me, like it struck a chord. I think this is an incredibly important book because this is not an uncommon thing. This is not a crazy thing that happens in books. It's a real thing that happens to girls and boys and people. This happens. And I think this book does a really good job of sympathizing and then revealing. Ultimately, I just think that this book is phenomenal, and it moved me and it changed me, and I will never be the same, and I couldn't put it down. Like, I had to know. I recommend this book to everybody. With a very thick trigger warning, for obvious reasons. It's about a 15-year-old girl getting groomed by a teacher who is 3 times her age. Just putting that out there. So, I can't even put into words how I feel about this book, but it is very important to me now, and I will treasure this for the rest of my life. And I will probably reread it within the next few months. So, My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell. That is it. That is all the books I read this month, and a little bit of March. It's not as many as I wanted, but also it's a good amount. And I'm trying not to make reading competitive for myself. I'm just trying to make it the way it is. You know? Like, I'm not like, I read 5 books this month and that is what I read, and that is okay. Thank you for watching. Thank you for joining me on this beautiful day outside. And I'll see you in my next video. Like, look at this. How lovely. Okay, bye. You're the best.